We are finally able to sit down and actually read the first book of the Chestnut Spring series, which is Flawless. This one is about Rhett and Summer. It looks like a close proximity, maybe kind of enemies to lovers. No, maybe not. I don't know. Summer is Rhett's agent's daughter. He gets stuck with her because I guess his image, and she's put in charge of supervising him, making sure he stays on the straight and narrow. We're gonna start it. I'm excited for it. Let's read about some cowboys.
Where is the line between dreaming and feeling blue? It's 4 o'clock in the evening. I haven't left my room. But the truth is, if I'm honest, I feel stuck here in the middle. Am I one of those crazy people? Should I stay here or should I let go? Well, the sheets over my head, hoping change is gonna find me. You don't have to remind me. I'm doing nothing at all. I'm ruminating on a blank wall.
Oh my gosh. I can't get my life together. I just got done reading Flawless, and I just literally the cutest part of the entire book is the bonus scene with Harvey, who's the Eaton dad. I wanted this book to not end just because there was something charming about Rhett that I really loved in this book, and I wanted to keep reading about it. But now I'm excited to read about Cade, and I know he's the next book, so I'm excited. There's some parts of it that kind of lagged a little bit for me. I feel like a couple of the steamier scenes could have been cut out just for shortening the book. They didn't really serve a purpose to the storytelling. I guess in a book as well written as this one, I expect unnecessary steaminess to not be included. But you know, it was good for what it was. I genuinely loved the bonus material. We're done with Flawless. I'm about to start Heartless. I can't wait, you guys. Cade and Willa were easily my two... No, that would be a lie. Because by the end of the book, Harvey was my favorite, but that was his bonus material. So if you take his bonus material out, Cade and Willow were probably my two favorite characters in the first book. And it wasn't even about them. So the fact that I get to read about them now, I'm excited for this.
But I feel stuck here in the middle. Am I one of those crazy people? Should I stay here or should I let
All right, I'm going to interject real quick. I just got done eating my lunch, and it literally took me all of an hour to get from page 23 to whatever page this is, which is like 172. It's so good. I really am enjoying their story. I think they're so much more fun. Like, they seem like such a fun couple compared to Rhett and Summer. But I think that's because Willa's personality is really enjoyable. Like, I really like her. I really enjoy her as a character. So that's where we are at lunch. guys. In this book, and you get to chapter 32, it is some of the best one-liners you are ever going to hear. Harvey has become like my favorite character ever. I look like Booty, and that's okay. I could not stop rooting for Willa and Cade. And I love that there wasn't some big blowout where they were pining for each other for months. And you know what I mean? Like, they just did the adult thing and they took some time and gave each other some space. And I love that. And we were introduced to Sloane in this book. And Jasper and Sloane are the couple in Powerless, which is the book we are picking up next. Book 2 done. Book 3, we're moving on to. I can't believe how good it is. This one's definitely not as good as Cade and Willa. I really like Cade and Willa. Although I do have some thoughts and opinions about the spice in these books. I'm getting kind of tired of reading about the same kind of man all the time. I need these men to have a little variety on them. I actually really liked how she wrote this friends to lovers. Like, we really got a sense of why they loved each other as much as they did. And I feel like she didn't leave anything out. However, could probably still be shorter. I think this is my main gripe. They're just so unnecessarily long in some parts. I don't know. So we're done with Powerless, and now we can move on to Reckless. Winter, who is Summer's sister, and Theo, who was the other bull rider from the first book. I'm ready to be done with these books, if I'm really honest with you. Probably reading all of them in one sitting was a big, taking on a lot. So we'll check back in later. I'm finally done. And I have to tell you, I'm excited to wrap these books up. We're going to go through the books one by one. I'm going to tell you what I thought about all of them. And then I'm going to go through and tell you what I rated the series as a whole. Here's the thing. I think it's like if you binge like a series that's really long, you just get tired of it after about 4 seasons because it's usually the same people all the time. And you just want to get done with it. And I feel like by the time I got to the 3rd installment of the series, I was ready to just be done. And I realized about a quarter of the way through the 4th book, I was already in love. So, okay, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think when you discuss books after you've read them, you kind of don't really have a choice but to have some spoilers. So if you don't want to hear about these books, this is where you cut out. We're going to start with Flawless. Flawless is a story about Rhett and Summer. Not my favorite of the series. I feel like it just took forever to get to the point. As much as we have to have a way that Summer and Rhett meet, I just kind of feel like babysitting a cowboy in his 30s is not realistic. So maybe that threw it off a little bit for me. There is a storyline where she is being stalked by the heart surgeon who saved her life. He pretty much groomed her as a teenager. So there's a trigger warning for you, some insinuation of grooming. Chemistry between Rhett and Summer felt a little forced. I guess I just didn't. I thought maybe I needed more. But for a story that is 400 pages almost, yeah, for a story that's 400 pages, it just felt a little lacking in the chemistry department. It made them kind of unbelievable, but I will say they made up for it in the later books. That's kind of where I am with it. I gave it a 3 stars. I think it's worth reading because you are going to want to read the rest of them. You just have to get through this one. Is it my favorite book in the series? Yeah, it's my favorite one in the series. This is Heartless. This follows Willa and Cade's adorable little boy, Luke, and I loved this. I absolutely could feel how the chemistry built up. I loved Willa from the get-go, so it was easy for me to understand how Cade would love Willa so much and why she was so endearing. She's probably my favorite female character of the whole series. There was not a whole bunch of drama with her. No dark family secrets, nothing like that. Her drama was what she wanted to do with her life. Kate and Willa are my favorite couple of the series. I gave this book 5 stars. It's definitely my favorite of the whole thing. And I really loved how Willa brought Kate out of his shell, like opened his eyes to a world out there that doesn't have to be lonely all the time. It was just really well done. The buildup of their relationship, the buildup of their family, it was just really well done. My biggest complaint when I read the series is that in the bedroom, the men in the series are usually the same. The problem is that not every cowboy wants to own a woman's body parts. And I just had a hard time. I had a hard time believing that, well, number one, I had a hard time believing that someone who was groomed would enjoy a man. This is mine, you're mine, I'm gonna mark you. It was more believable coming from Cade, but I was still tired of it. They were the same. There was no twist on it. It was all, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. I can't do that all the time. The series I read to be varied, and I need the men in the series to be varied. As we journey into Powerless is about Jasper and Sloane. Sloane is the Eaton's cousin. The boys' mom and Sloane's mom are sisters. While the boys were raised on the ranch, are not rich like Sloane's family. Well, Jasper, who you learn as the series progresses, he was pretty much raised on the ranch with the boys. Their dad calls him his son. There is a running joke in this book that Sloane and Jasper are cousins, and they are going to have tail babies. She's a ballerina. He's a hockey player, NHL hockey player. Obviously, there's going to be a hockey somewhere in the series, right? But she's pretty much always been the girl who's done what she's told. Her husband cheats on her on their wedding day. Jasper runs off with her, and he kind of finally, they're spending time with her and getting her away from the world and getting her away from all the stress in her life in that moment. They come to realize that while Sloane has always carried a crush on Jasper because Jasper is 4 or 5 years older than her, as a teenage girl and into adulthood, she's kind of come to grips with the fact that he never has. But then I guess at some point he starts to see her in a different light. And then you learn that it is her dad who is like told him to stay away from her. And it's a whole thing. I like this book. I actually really believed the chemistry between these two. I started to get the trend that Jasper was going to be just like Cade and just like Rhett in the bedroom. And I almost put this down, and I was done with the series with that. I don't want to read about the same man in a bedroom with 5 different women. I almost put it down. But I said, I'm going to power through because I don't want to be a quitter. I powered through. I'm glad I did because it gave me a twist. Like Jasper is like Jasper's like the lemon in your water. While she does not specifically call it BDSM in the book, there are scenes where Sloane is crawling on her knees to him, or there are scenes where Jasper is very in control. It rings very BDSM, but it's like better. It's not 50 Shades BDSM, and I think that's what makes it hot. So it was just enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to read the next one. I gave this one 4 stars. And it was time for me to read Reckless. Reckless is Winter and Theo's story. Winter is Summer's sister, and Theo is a bull rider like Rhett. Rhett is his mentor, and Theo's dad was Rhett's mentor. So we learn in the first book that Theo's dad died, and that's kind of why Rhett took him under his wings, and now they're like family. Well, Winter is trying to make amends with her sister. They actually meet in Powerless, and it's so cute. I didn't think they were going to bring it up, but I'm glad we got to see more of that in Reckless. The way they meet is adorable. Winter is like fiery little sprite, and I love it. Theo's like this laid-back goofball that you can't help but fall in love with because you can throw anything at him, and he's like Teflon, nothing sticks. And that's why you know they work. They had one hot night, no strings attached, and it ends up she got pregnant. So we get an 18-month later. Theo is on the top of his game. As far as Summer knows, she told him about the baby. She did not lie about her pregnancy, but she got a response from him that was not ideal. And so she's just kind of kept who her baby's daddy was to herself. Theo comes back into town for a like charity bull riding thing, ends up getting hurt. Summer's freaking out. Nobody can understand why, even though they kind of knew they had a thing for each other. Turns out he had no idea about the baby. When I tell you that this man is a breath of fresh air in a sea of romance books, I've not been this impressed by a hero in a romance novel in a long time. Elsie Silver outdid herself with Theo. Theo is the ultimate book boyfriend. I like Summer well enough, but Theo has pretty much ruined all other book boyfriends for me. This was a 4-star book, though. The chemistry between them just felt very, just because he's supposed to automatically be in love and trying to be like the best man he's ever been after one night with this woman. And then we got into Hopeless. Hopeless was really good. Bo and Bailey. So Bailey is the girl who kind of grew up on the farm next to him. Her family's talked about a little in the other books, and she's talked about when they're in the bar in town. Bo's in the military. He was MIA for a while. He's found. Now he's dealing with some stuff. There are a couple of things that kept me from giving this a 5-star. The sex. He's the third brother, the last brother, and again, he was just super controlling in the bedroom. It's mine. Nobody else touches this, caveman type stuff. And I didn't want to see that again. I needed something else that was refreshing and different. There's a 13-year age gap, just like Willie and Kate. And that's great. But she's a virgin. And even if you're a 22-year-old virgin, you're not jumping into the kind of sex that he was giving her. The only other thing outside of those two things that kept it from being a 5-star read for me was there is addiction and alcohol triggers in this book. And I think as someone who has suffered from addiction in my past and someone who is married to a former alcoholic, kind of just blew past Bo having an addiction. Like, she started to tell the story of Bo actually having an alcohol problem, but then all of a sudden he doesn't. Like, you can just put it down. That takes a lot of control and a lot of willpower when you're struggling with something and you're not seeing when you're struggling with something that's making you drink and you're not seeing a therapist. And there was nothing traumatic that kept him from drinking again. It was literally Bailey just telling him, I don't like you when you're like this. So that's it. That's the only thing. And maybe that's too harsh of a criticism. So overall, did I love the series? Would I recommend the series? Absolutely. And I think it's okay in most of these books to skip past the bedroom scenes. I don't think the bedroom scenes are very instrumental in the stories. Not into like spicy reads and you like your closed door romances. I think you can add these to that pile. It's very easy to kind of get the gist of what you're supposed to be feeling in those chapters and then bypass them altogether. Not a lot is said in those scenes that you really need for the story to go on. Would I recommend reading them in order? Absolutely. I think it's an injustice to read these out of order. Number one, you don't want to ruin the story, and the family and the couples are mentioned heavily throughout all the stories. These are also free on Kindle, so you don't have to go out and buy the paperback if you don't want to. I kind of do. I read them all because I would read the actual book here at the house, and then when I was at work, I would read the Kindle version when I was on my lunches. So if you have a Kindle and you haven't read these yet, they're free reads. They're free reads. And lastly, I am going to tell you why I recommend these books and why this series that I was going to give as a whole 4 stars, I'm giving 5 stars. Because Harvey is Daddy Eaton, and Daddy Eaton is hilarious. Every time that man opened his mouth in these books, he either had sage words or he was funny, and he was funny on purpose. Even if you read them on Kindle, you won't get this. But if you buy the paperbacks, bonus scenes with Harvey, it's in the back of every book. Highly recommend. Love Harvey. So definitely a 5-star series for me. I'm going to probably try to tackle these again next year. Sometimes I like to go back and read my favorite romance series over. There's a couple that I haven't talked about on the channel that I read over and over and over again. Absolute favorites. The Blue Moon series by Lucy Score. Love them. They're so funny. They're so realistic. I cannot get I cannot get enough of them ever. While Blue Moon is more of the, like, what I would call a comedy, if it was like a TV show or something, this is more of a dramedy. There you go. That's it. That is it for this reading vlog. I've never done a reading vlog before. Let me know what you guys think of this. I'm thinking about doing another one with the Dreamland Billionaires series. We will see you in the next video. Bye.
Am I one of those crazy